Okay, Johnny's back. Johnny, since you got two teams, Johnny, do you wanna start with you? We'll go team by team. We got Juve, Roma, Napoli, Milan. For those who don't know, this is by the way our fifth Serie season that we're doing as a podcast. So kudos to you guys. We're gonna be celebrating a 4-year anniversary coming up in 2 months from now. So kudos to both of you for sticking around this long. It's fifth Serie season. It's crazy to think about. We started in 2018-19. We're going to the 2022-2023 season. The Serie hasn't changed their logo this time, which is good progress. They changed the ball supplier. They're with Puma now, so it really doesn't make a difference. I mean, unless you're really into balls and stuff.
Wow, that's a sound bite and a half right there.
That's right there.
But Johnny, pick whichever team you want to start off with.
I guess I'll start with the negative right away and start off with Napoli. Losing a lot of key players in this Mercato. But you lost Insigne. You're going to lose Koulibaly if the Chelsea rumors are true. And now there's also the potential of Mertens not being re-signed, even though the guy is basically lowering his own self-worth just to stay in Naples. So there's so many key pieces that are being removed from the team, and they're not getting replaced with quality. They're getting replaced with even Ospina left. Forgot he confirmed his transfer yesterday, I believe, to the Saudi Arabia League. Was it the Saudi League? Anyways, I don't know. Long story short, you lost a lot of key pieces, and they're not getting replaced with quality players. They're getting replaced with bargain bin finds. I think the only positive that we have is Anguissa is staying. They decide to purchase him after the loan, which is great because he was one of their best little finds last summer. Kvaratskhelia, remains to be seen. He's just a left-wing replacement for Insigne, so everybody has high hopes for him. And I'm wishing him success, but I doubt he's going to be a stellar left winger right out of the gate. And then you got Oliveira that was confirmed. Oliveira comes in left back slot, pretty good defensive slot. I think he can also play on the right. I could be wrong on that, so nobody take it as fact. But it's good because it gives a bit of a competition for the left back slot. Maybe a potential Rui replacement coming up because it seems like De Laurentiis is just trying to cut down and trim the books as much as he can and replacing them with cheaper players and hopefully to find these bargain bin finds. So I don't have much hope for Napoli so far from what I've been seeing. Obviously, it's July 11th today? 12th. I'm on summer vacation mode, guys. I'm off for 2 months, so the days just fly by for me. But yeah, it's July 12th, and we don't know what can happen from now till the start of the season. As of now, I think Napoli's quality that they're going to field will probably be a 7th to 8th place team. I really have very little doubts in the team. Yeah, sure, there are still some good players. You still have Osimhen, a fantastic player. Ruiz so far is up in the air, but if he stays, Fabian Ruiz, he's still a good quality midfielder. You still have Zielinski. You still have, Lobotka is pretty decent too. The mid's still fine. It's just, like I said, it doesn't scream top 4 finish for me. And it really doesn't, especially with the loss of Koulibaly, that back line is going to be so confused, and it's not going to be a good back line. And sometimes you can't, if you don't have, especially with Murray, not being the most experienced keeper, that's what's probably going to hurt Napoli the most. They're probably going to lose games by a goal or two because the back line is not up to par, especially without their general being back there. So that's why for me, as of now, realistically, I think they're a 7th, 8th place team, but things can change. On the Roma front, I think everything's
Danny, you want to stop there? We'll go around with Milan, Juve, and then we'll come back to Roma.
Sure.
So we get a bit of
rotation. My teams first, and then get it out of the way, and then we'll talk about Milan, Juve. But
Ja, I have a question for you now. You spoke Napoli a bit there.
Yes, let's talk a bit if you want.
I just wanted, before we pass the mic here, I just wanted to ask, how upsetting is this now with this Napoli team? Do you point to finger to ADL? I know a lot of people are going bananas with this ADL out business. Where do you lie with this topic?
Where I point to, I do kind of point the finger slightly to De Laurentiis because, you know, you have to understand that like Napoli is not these big serious club that will always have a diehard following from around the world because, you know, like they have international European success like the big three of Italy, like Real, Barca, you know, like pretty much 6 teams in the Prem, you know, like they don't have that popularity. So you're always going to have to try to cash in on the hype. But I don't blame him in a way because nobody could have predicted the pandemic happening. Prior to the pandemic, you know, Napoli was a decent money generator. He was doing a very good job with the team in terms of finances. And then obviously every team in the league took a hit when the pandemic happened and people weren't able to go to games. And this really, really put the entire league behind. Now, that's why I'm saying I don't blame ADL for trying to reduce the salaries, because if he doesn't do it, Napoli goes bankrupt and they're back to square one as if they were back in the early 2000s. And I think De Laurentiis is trying to prevent that. So that's where I give him leniency. But I'm also putting him the blame for saying, like, why did you sign these players to these contracts knowing that if, God forbid, something serious happened, that you're going to have to, you know, do a massive fire sale, you know, and you're going to lose a lot of momentum. If you're going to feel terrible quality, you're going to lose a lot of momentum that you built throughout these past 20 years, more or less. And, you know, you're going to lose fans, you're going to lose interest, you're going to lose income from revenue, and that's probably going to put the team further down the rabbit hole. But De Laurentiis is known for finding these bargain finds. You know, like every young player that he's bought for like these 10 millions, 11 millions, you know, like the player like Mertens he got for cheap, Koulibaly he's gotten for cheap, you know, and they turned out to be stars for the team. Back in the day, Cavani, Lavezzi, Hamsik, and that was probably like one of the most exciting trios in Serie A at the time to watch. Too bad the defense was absolute ass during that era, but that's why. So I do put a bit of a blame on De Laurentiis. I'm not like fucking livid. It's not the word I'm looking. I'm disappointed and a little bit sad about it because I feel like as if he mismanaged the team a lot in terms of finances. But at the end of the day, who can predict a pandemic? You know, who can predict something like that happening? And that's where it's but like I said, like don't sign these players to these ridiculous salaries if you know that like one little big like one thing can just break down. It's like what's the term? Castle made of glass or something. I don't know what it is. Where it's just like it easily like you just throw a rock in a room full of glass. That's what it is. You know, where you just throw a rock and you know like it just shatters. That's what's basically happened to Napoli right now. So
that's the state of the Serie A right now. If a top 4 team has to sell players to avoid bankruptcy. I mean, I don't know how close they are to bankruptcy, but they need to sell players to stay afloat. That's the state of the city. And it's not only Napoli, right? Juve has had troubles since the start of the pandemic. Same thing with Milan. All the teams. Just the state of Serie A. This is what happens when you don't own your own stadiums. This is what happens when you don't get the proper TV deals. This is what happens when you can't move forward. You know, technology-wise, media-wise, it's the pandemic has really exposed the faults of the Serie A, and we're really behind other leagues, especially the Prem. Considering a team who gets promoted to the Prem makes more money than a team who makes the Champions League in the Serie A. Like that's the state of the league right now.
Crazy.
That's the state of the league. But and you know what, Jenny, even looking at transfer market for Napoli, you know, you say ADL's replacing the guys who are leaving with younger guys. You look at one of the players they promoted from the youth team, Hubert Idasiak. I don't know if I said his name right. A 20-year-old Polish keeper. Like right away, Ospina leaves. You see, there you go. Primavera goalie comes in, and then Davide Costanzo also comes up to the senior team. Probably to replace Tuanzebe or even Koulibaly. Not on the starting role, but you know, you lose one center back, you bring up a center back from the youth team, and they're definitely cheaper salary wise. But yeah, very interesting points for Napoli, and I think you know what, based on what I've seen on Twitter, I think a lot of fans will agree with you, Gianni. Your turn, Adriano, or should we go Juve first, and then we do the champions last?
Go for it. I know Juve land is excited with some returns and some new signings. So go ahead.
Before Johnny just left the seat, but I wanted to ask. We should give a rating. We should give a rating to each of the transfers. I don't know if you want to do it like on the letter scale on 0 to 10. If you'd give a rating so far, Johnny, right now for Napoli.
Right now for Napoli, I give him a D+.
All right. Listen. It's early, guys. It's early. There's still a lot of time to change that grade. So it's only July 12th.
D plus some professore deli colli.
D+.
Brandon Press. Juve, interesting. Definitely interesting summer. Definitely different direction of past years. I feel like past years they really wanted to shore up the midfield, and they kind of did that in a way. You know, bringing McKennie, Zakaria, Locatelli over the past few years, getting even Artur, and then getting rid of their old guard, right? Matuidi, Pjanic, Khedira, Chan. Obviously, the midfield's still not up to the standard it was maybe 7 years ago in that 2015, or even it was 5 years ago, but it's fine. I think the midfield is fine right now, especially now with Pogba coming in. It's fine. Leave it as is. They're done with the midfield. Pogba, I'm obviously really happy he's coming back, but we'll see. We'll see. If anyone listens to this podcast, I don't really watch other leagues, right? So I can't tell you how he did with Man U. A lot of people criticized him. A lot of people loved him. So I think my understanding is that he was a bit of a streaky player, and I hope that coming back to Juve will jumpstart him a bit. He's not going to be Paul Pogba of 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Put that out there. Out there.
I hope people don't expect
Pogba
that.
2022, not Pogba 2015, 16.
He's only 29. He's still got a lot of he's got a lot left in the tank, and he's better than pretty much any midfielder on Juve right now. Like right now with Locatelli, him, McKennie, and Zakaria, like I said, I think it's a good midfield. You got to rotate. Artur is definitely not up to par. Rabiot, you know what? He had a decent season last year. A lot of people don't like him. Whatever. He's decent. I don't want him to see him as a starter coming off the bench. Let him do it. And then obviously Fabio Miretti is another player. He's more of an attacking mid. It'll be interesting to see how Allegri uses him. He started, I think, 4 games at the end of last year. So we'll see. But what one transfer I obviously really like is for Di Maria, because this is a transfer. So they lose Dybala. Obviously, he was your number 10. He was an important player, but he's really lost it in the last year, and he never really fit into this 4-3-3 with Allegri. So now this is really Allegri's transfers are for the Allegri's 4-3-3. Now it's on him now. These are his guys. These are the guys he wants. Everyone fits in a position. You got Chiesa on one side once he's healthy, and Di Maria on the other side. And then Vlahovic right in the middle. So these are his guys. It'll be interesting to see what there's already rumors that Morata could come back in a deal towards the end of the Mercato. He could play a left wing. He could play as the backup striker. I see Keane right now more doing that role, but he hasn't been the best. So I think Juve is going to start the season either with Keane or they bring back Morata. But it'll be interesting to see. The biggest concern I do have is definitely defense, especially with De Ligt likely on his way out. Chiellini gone to LA. Like, who's left? Bonucci and Rugani. Like, they obviously need another center back. I just saw on Twitter rumors for Pau Torres. We'll see. They definitely need to get it. If De Ligt leaves, they need to go out and use that money to buy another center back. Straight up. And that's obviously the plan. It's the first time in 15 years that Juve has problems at center back. So we'll see what happens. The full back's pretty much the same as last year. Andrea Cambiaso possibly coming in from Genoa. Definitely not a starter. I think it's either going to be him or Pellegrini. Then I think if he comes in a left back, I don't see Pellegrini staying. He'll probably be sold or loaned out somewhere. And then obviously, right back, there's still Cuadrado. Obviously, you got Danilo. I mentioned about center backs. You got Danilo still, but so even that Bonucci, Danilo, Rugani. You can't last all season with those three. So I've liked Juve's Mercato so far. I obviously love the transfers of Di Maria and Pogba, but we have to wait till the season starts to talk about the defense. If the lit stays amazing, I'll be happy. You know, he would definitely start 90% of the games. But if he leaves, there's gonna be a lot of question marks. And you know what? If you're gonna get the transfer done, I hope they get it done now, not at the end of the market like they did last year with Ronaldo. And I don't think that would be the case. Like Bayern's staff was already in Torino this week, so we'll see. If I give it a grade, I'd go with a B. It's good, not great. I think they're better than last year, unless the lid leaves. If the lid leaves, I'd go as far to say that they're even worse than last year. So, honestly, it's a tentative B because this whole Mercato for Juve depends on how they play this season.
No, it's well said. And I mean, listen, again, we don't know what Pogba you're going to get, right, Nick? And Di Maria, listen, I don't know if he's going to play out 38 games. So a sub on that side is another, for me, looking outside in, is a little bit of a concern. But again, Di Maria's class, I think, will shine just for how many games and for how consistent he'll be. The defense, like you said, I think hit it out of the park. It's a no-brainer. You can be blind and still see that there's problems in the back line, especially if the Ligt leaves. Even if the Ligt stays, I'm sorry, but we mentioned on this podcast before, Bonucci without a guy like Chiellini or a guy really leading him, it's not the same type of player you're going to get, right? So defensive help for sure, I think, for Juve is definitely needed. But it's well said. I guess I'll go. Listen, like you guys, well, maybe more out of all the teams that are ours, I think Juve has been the most active. I mean, with the signings and transactions they've been doing so far. For Milan's sake,
and they're the ones that have been the most winning, actually, in my opinion, in terms of their transfers that they've been doing. They've been definitely assessing needs that they were looking at for a while now.
Yeah. Listen, it's another free transfer for they rob Manu once again with that transaction of Pogba coming back, but and then Di Maria too, right? So these are back, Juve style deals, but let's see if they pan out this time. We'll definitely have to wait and see. But for Milan's sake, listen, this team last season was nowhere near a perfect team. It really was the collective that really pushed them over the edge and really, obviously solidified that 19 Scudetto last season. But, in terms of transactions that we've seen, obviously Origi coming in from Liverpool, the free transfer himself there. Again, I think he's in his late 20s, about anywhere between 27 and 29, if I'm not mistaken. Gonna give some competition to up top for that number 9 slot. If it's gonna be Giroud, if it's gonna be, they're saying Ibra's gonna potentially resign. He has to go through his surgery and his rehab, but in his knee. But we'll see. Again, this is gonna be a 40-plus-year-old Ibra, so we can't count on him for 38 games plus other competition. So. Origi is nice. Yeah, listen, he's an experienced player. Again, I don't know too much about him in terms of his play on the pitch. But again, he's been a Belgium international. He's been in the biggest on the biggest stage in one of the biggest leagues in the world in the Prem. So listen, I think he slots in right. He's saying all the right things. When he came. In terms of his presentation, to the club, he seems ready to go. So I'm excited to see what he can bring, even if it's not a starter, just off the bench to kind of play off of either Ibra or Giroud's form. Well, he'll be able to slot in there. I mean, not a signing from this season, but it was business that happened last season. He's finally arrived to the club. is Yassine Adli, the midfielder. Kind of a jack of all trades type of player. I didn't really realize that to begin with, but listening to him in his presentation to the club, he's they asked him where do you prefer to play, and he's like on the pitch. That's kind of was his answer, and he can kind of play everywhere. Kind of from midfield to attacking midfield to across the line. So I'm excited for him because he looks like a promising talent. He's young. He's another French talent that we have a bit of a French connection with Milan. So it's good to see. I think him coming in and being able to play maybe that 10 to maybe give Brahim a bit of competition, maybe even to help in the midfield role with Kessie leaving to Barcelona. Again, he's just a flexible player, which I like. So I'm excited to see what he can bring. Again, besides actual transactions, I think that's really it in terms of buys right now. But the redemptions that they made, obviously, bringing back Florenzi, I think that's and buying them out outright, right? So he finally leaves Rome. He's kind of had near the tail end of his Roma days wasn't always the best, but again, he found a bit of a home in Milano, and it's positive to see. He really brought that leadership, that experience. Again, this is a Euro Cup winner as well with Italy. So yeah, he slots in there as competition for that right back slot for Calabria. If it's going to be Kalulu, we'll see. It's talking about one guy leaving Rome, one guy going to Rome was our capitano, Alessio Romagnoli. He's all set to go to Lazio. It's official. He goes to join his boyhood club, and again, just can't be happier for him. Honestly, he was a pro all the way through. He was with us through the dark times and obviously at the end the good times. But he just always had that class mentality and that class character. Can't say enough. Good things and good wishes for Alessio. I want to see him do well for Lazio, and I think Lazio's Mercato, even though they're missing some pieces, they're slowly getting started. So, and he's in addition to that. So, again, big thanks to him. Obviously, a guy like Samu Castillejo leaves as well to join Gattuso's Valencia, which is again another bittersweet moment. I think these two things are kind of like a feel-good moments for these types of players, leaving. I think that's pretty much it in terms that off the top of my head that I can think of. Obviously, resigning Mirante and other small deals like that. There's obviously bringing back Pobega from his loan from Torino. Again, another midfielder that I'm intrigued to see how he's going to, slot into Pioli's plans if he does, which I hope he does, because I think last year for Torino he brought some swagger to that midfield and brought he's going to bring some experience, some Serie A experience, which these young players need. So again, excited for what's ahead. We still need a lot. I mean, this is not a perfect team like I opened this segment by any means. Listen, every day we're close to Renato Sanchez. We're far away from Renato Sanchez. We're close. We're far. Ziyech is another name on the right wing. We need to address that badly. De Catelaire or CDK. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but the Bruges man. He seems to be close, but again, he seems to be far. So these are all kinds of transactions that I'm hoping they can get going and bring them in as like Nick said earlier rather than later. But again, this is what happens when you leave the signing of your directors to the last minute in Maldini and Masada. So again, we're maybe a bit behind the eight ball, but they got to kind of pick up the pace and maybe. I don't want to say completely abandon this whole Moneyball Milan, as Presidente likes to call it. Really nickel and diming every transaction. But listen, guys, we're champions of Italy. We're in Champions League once again, 2 years in a row. We got to get a move on. We got to get better. Our group was great. We have to get better. There's still obviously the remaining pieces of last season, but we need to improve on that and really start to fight and to compete with the competition around us, because like we said earlier, Juve slowly, adding some pieces. Inter, if we're going to talk about that later, the other teams, they're starting to look a bit better, right? They made some transactions. So, yeah, it's a matter of time, I guess, with these transactions to take place. But I'm hopeful that, Maldini and company can get it right once again.
Did you rating? Want to give it a rating?
Oh, sorry, rating. Right now, again, it's very minimal transactions, like I said. I'm gonna go C plus. But again, like Johnny said, like you said, Nick, these things can change. These grades can change as the Mercato progresses. I'm hoping I don't have to lower that grade, but as of right now, it's a C plus, because I think there's still improvements to be made, and we need to make them. So hopefully, again, we got maybe at the end of the Mercato I can say A plus, but for right now it's C plus for me.
And lastly, Johnny, we'll go with Roma.
Okay.
Roma's definitely resigning.
Yeah, Mancini resigned today for what was it, for until 2027, I believe. I could be wrong. I think it's around that time.
2027.
The players that they got for free was Matic. They also got Svilar. Celik signed yesterday or the day before. They're definitely adding in. They're definitely, reinforcing the fact that they come off as Conference League champs, and they want to make that push for top 4 in Serie A. And I think, honestly, they can do it. Especially the fact that Napoli's taking a dip. They're still shedding just a little bit of weight. I'm happy that Florenzi signed with Milan. The guy got a Scudetto that he deserved, and he's going to be playing for a team that appreciates him, and I wish him all the best. So that was good for Milan to get him. That means basically, Napoli's Napoli. Wow. Roma is basically, they're good with their right back situation. So I don't see them spending too much for the rest of the summer. There are still some targets that they are trying to go after. But right now, what's the main issue at Roma is the Zaniolo saga. Basically, it's just been a whole mess of drama. Zaniolo today didn't want to report to practice in Portugal because he's really trying to negotiate hard with his agent to try to get moved from Roma. He's trying his best not to continue with the team. I guess he doesn't want to do the team any favors in terms of the contract, because he still has technically 2 seasons left. I think a season or 2 left on his contract, but he still wants to get more. Feels like he deserves to get more. I think, he kind of does deserve a slight raise, but not as much as he wants, because he just played 1 full season. It's his first full season. Let's see what he does before doing anything like that. But if he's going to continue to be like this and be a guy who his drama affects the dressing room, then fine, get rid of it. It sucks to see him go, because I really enjoy Zaniolo. I like what he brings. I like the pace and the strength that he has, and I love the fact that he, you give him the ball, he's going with it. He's not. And I have faith in him to get into those very tight spots and those danger zones and give hell to the opposing D-line, and probably maybe generate some good chances or even a good set piece. So for me, Zaniolo leaving will suck. I know a lot of Roma fans, they're trying to they're throwing him under the bus, and I don't agree with it, because at the end of the day, these players want to leave. They have the right to say they want to leave. I mean, we like to say that this player's been loyal, blah blah blah, and we love to see that, but it's the way finances are, man. It's the way the sports are. You only have a short period of time to make as much money as you can. And Zaniolo already on 2 ACL injuries that could have been potentially career ending. I don't blame him for trying to get as much as he can right now before he actually just maybe we get one more injury where he just can't play soccer anymore. So he's a young kid. He's prone to boneheaded decisions, and he him too, like he thinks emotions first and collective thoughts later, which I respect because I'm kind of a bit like that, where I usually act with my emotions first. But it sucks. Yeah, if it's a move's gonna happen, I'd rather it get done sooner than later and not get it drawn out, because the longer it draws out, the longer it causes somewhat a bit of confusion for Mourinho and also for his teammates about what lineups are gonna feel like or look like without him. I hope he doesn't go to Juve for the life of me. I don't want to see him go to Juve, but it just seems that, like, every Italian kid likes to play for Juve for some odd reason. These kids don't have a sense of creativity in their brain to support a different team besides Juve. But no, just me having fun.
I feel offended.
Yeah, good. I love you, Nico. I love you. Shit. I'm just having fun with it. I'm just having fun with it. I have to get it to shots in whenever you can. No, but in all seriousness, like, hey, if Juve is going to offer him the money that Roma is looking for, take it. If Juve is willing to offer the 40-50 million euros that Roma wants, take it. Because you're not going to get more anymore after that. And if you don't have any other teams knocking on the door, then just shed it out. Take that offer, and maybe it might be a contract that Juventus might regret paying him for, and who knows, maybe gets misused under Allegri. He's probably not an Allegri type of player, which could be it. Like it could be it. Like Allegri's very defensive minded, and Zaniolo's not really the best defensive minded player. He's explosive offensively, but he's not the best defensive minded player. So that might clash a bit with the Allegri system. But maybe Allegri might use him properly. You might find a way for him to fit him in, So if he goes to Juve, I won't be an asshole and I won't be a sourpuss. I won't be like one of those, fuck him, what a fucking loser, that fucking bum. No, I'm not going to be like that. I'd be like, you know what, Zaniolo, I wish him the best. He's definitely playing for a quote-unquote better team. The guy won us a Conference League Champions a title, like he scored the game winner in that final game. I got a hat trick the game before that, I believe. It's one of the semifinal legs. He gets a hat trick for us. Like he did Roma a favor. He helped them win a title that they have been lacking since 2008, I believe. They haven't had a trophy since 2008. So if he goes, he goes. Hopefully they get the 40 to 50 million euros for him. I don't want Roma just to take a cut just to get him out of there. Make sure you get full value for him, especially the fact you developed him to the player that he is right now. I know he was an Inter prospect prior to being a Roma player, but you turned him to what he is right now. So take advantage of that. If you don't just let a young kid like this go for nothing. The additions are good. I don't think they're fantastic. I really hope they kind of look more towards the Primavera to try to maybe get players. But the Friedkins, they're still in that window of like you could technically spend money and you don't have to pay taxes on it because they're new owners. I think it's like a 2-year period you have or something like that. So take advantage of that if you can. But I don't think the Friedkins are going to do it so that they risk themselves of going underneath to going in the Reds and like putting Roma in a bad spot that they were a few years ago. I love the fact that Mourinho decided to stay. There was rumors of him possibly going to PSG. I don't know. Here for the 3 years of my contract, I'm going to stay for the 3 years of my contract. I believe in the Roma project and I want to build it. And you know what? The guy in his first year, he even taking expectations. He's like, I just want us to develop a consistency of winning. Wins a freaking European title. It's not the best European title. It's the 3rd division one, but he wins a title. That's something we haven't seen ever. Roma's last ever European final appearance was 1982 or 4. It was 1984, losing in the Champions League final to Liverpool in penalty shots. Imagine Roma could have had a Champions League title and they lost the penalty shots to Liverpool. And I know Milanisti feel the way I feel about that because them too could have had a nice 8 instead of a 7. But still 7's still fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
So just the fact that he was able to help Roma win something internationally gives me my full support. And hey, if Mourinho says, you know what, we have to let go of Zaniolo, all right, Capitano, I believe you. Sorry, Mister, not Capitano. I trust you. If he goes, he goes. We'll see what they do to replace him. And I'm also kind of keeping my fingers crossed because next year is the last year that Chelsea can come knocking on Roma's door to get back Abraham as per the conditions of his transfer. where Roma bought him for 40 million euros on a 5-year payment plan. But in the first 2 years, so you're basically paying about, I think was it 40 million, so it's about 8 million per year. But if in the two, after the second, up until the second year, like the end of the second season, Chelsea can come back and buy him back for 80 million outright if they want to. So at the end of this second season, if Abraham doesn't get bought back, he stays with Roma for the last 3 years of the contract that they bought him for. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because Abraham has found his groove, and Roma needs him to, if they want to fight for that top 4 spot, which I fully believe they can finish 4th this year with the roster they have now, and it can become even better.